Democrats haven't learned their lesson after embracing socialism cost them 8 seats and counting in the House. The way things are looking, Nancy Pelosi will only have a slim majority in the House after boasting about a blue wave. And now Bernie Sanders says it's amusing when Republicans attack his far-left agenda and Americans actually, well, they love his policies.
I mean, Fox News literally had exit polling data that they showed on their broadcast on the day of the election that unironically favored Bernie Sanders' agenda to a T. So what's the take there? I do not know. Why is it that like a big part of what Republicans do sometimes is just look at like reasonable things that people are saying, but say it in like a funny voice, like repeat the exact same thing that Bernie Sanders is saying, but in a funny voice. So like, what is that an own? Like, did you mock him? Like, at least when I do that, which is something I do as well, I follow through on like why you're being fucking brain dead. Instead of just being like, oh, Americans want health care. Like in this circumstance, here's what you would do. You would say, according to Bernie, Americans want health care. And then you follow that up by saying, actually, Americans love sucking off the CEOs of Aetna and also Blue Cross Blue Shield, making sure that their year-over-year profits are marginally increasing. Sorry, shareholder value is very important to the American population more than, getting free health care. That's what she's supposed to say. Now, if she said that, she would sound fucking insane. I don't think she can say that, but
the truth is that when you talk about raising the minimum wage to $15 an hour, when you're talking about expanding health care to all people as a human right, when you talk about effectively taking on climate change, when you talk about making public colleges and universities tuition free, these are not far left ideas. These are common sense ideas that the majority of the American people support, and we're going to fight to make sure that they're implemented.
Yet, Dana, Americans love Medicare for all until they find out their care will be rationed, their taxes will be raised, and private health insurance will be outlawed.
Right, if you just ask that.
Their care will be rationed and Dude, the biggest lie that Americans, both on the left, like the liberal Democratic Party, and also on the right, tell American people is that your health care is not rationed currently. It is rationed currently. It's rationed by virtue of wealth. If you're rich, your health care is not rationed, okay? You can pay for it. If you're poor, your health care is rationed all the fucking time, like nonstop, literally. Also, speaking of rationing health care, look at the state that we're in currently in places like South Dakota or places like El Paso in Texas, for example. They're literally doing triage. They actually have death panels now. Insurance is literally rationed. Is regular Medicare rationed? Like every form of health care is rationed. Every form of healthcare is rationed to a certain degree. Now, having said that, the irony here is that she's making it seem like the current existing system is good when it clearly isn't. It does not yield positive results for the overwhelming majority of Americans.
Private health insurance will be outlawed.
Right, if you just ask that first question, usually you will get somebody like 65% of people will get, yeah, of course I think everybody should have health insurance. Yes, of course I think everyone should have more money. And then when you ask the second question, then support usually goes way down. So that's why you have this gridlock in Washington, D.C. And
I can't tell if we're watching MSNBC or Fox News, man. Pretty funny to just hear how similar MSNBC's rhetoric is to Fox News on this issue. That's interesting. Just think about that for a second. And
I also feel like all of us are a little bit guilty of this, but I feel like Bernie Sanders in particular, he's surrounded by people who agree with him, right? And all of us have a social circle and neighbors and friends. Well, you have no friends. But if you go home on the weekend and you see people who they just can't believe this happened and can't believe that, and they're all thinking the same way, you come back and you think, well, everybody thinks that way. And we are quite polarized. There are lots of different ideas out there, but I will tell you that
like people who think all Americans should get fucking free healthcare coverage, something that's literally afforded to regular citizens by virtue of being citizens in, like, I don't know, a social democratic European country, or even America's hat, Canada, or even developing nations around the world. That's the kind of thing that, some Americans want. And then others are like, no, fuck that. Americans should be melted into biofuel if they're poor, because being rich means you did something right and being poor means you did something wrong.
She is from Orange County. She just they just called that race in Orange County. She's part of that new Republican class of freshmen that Kevin McCarthy helped recruit. They all won. She is so impressive. And I asked her, do you think this is true, what Bernie Sanders is saying? That, did you find that in your race? And she said quite the opposite, that it was those ideas that actually helped propel her to that win.
Because the American people, Jesse, aren't stupid, and they know what the Green New Deal is. It means that they're going to take away your gasoline-powered car in, 5, 6.
Americans aren't stupid. That's why they believe a complete fabrication I made up and that this network propagates routinely. That's why Americans are smart, because they believe my stupid attitude towards a policy foundation that I think will be overall bad, because, the people that pay my advertising think that it's not good for their bottom line.
Socialism is like a free shot. Sounds good, but you pay for it the next day. And that's what Bernie Sanders has made his career on, is he takes something that everybody likes, like college or housing or healthcare, and then he just slaps the word free in front of it and then runs for president and gets rich. I mean, they tried socialist healthcare in Vermont.
I hate this so much.
Bless help me, my dad says we can't compare America to Scandinavian countries because they don't have the same immigration as us.
That's such a great fucking take from your dad. Either your dad believes that immigrants have something intrinsically broken in them, where they are just fundamentally flawed individuals by virtue of being born on a different border, a different side of the border, or there's no literal reason for why immigration should stop having social safety nets. Considering that economy scale, I think that immigration coming into the United States is not necessarily going to hamper our programs, our social safety nets.
Think about these policies: defund the police, higher gas prices, higher taxes, open borders, gun grabbing. None of that stuff's popular. It actually hammers the middle class and the lower class, but the wealthy, they can survive socialism. Because the wealthy, they have the gated communities, they have the private security, they have the tax shelters, the boot.
I don't get it. Like, wait, a big part of Bernie Sanders' policy proposals literally revolve around closing those fucking tax loopholes and punishing corporations of the wealthy for using tax shelters and shit. So, and increasing the tax burden that they have. Why is it that whenever people criticize socialism, it literally sounds like they're describing capitalism? Like, every time capitalists criticize socialism, they are literally describing capitalism. A massive concentration of power at the top, folks. You don't want that happening, okay? You don't want authoritarian rule with people starving on the streets, people lining up in lines to be able to get bread or food in general. You don't want empty shelves in grocery stores. You don't want any of that. It's like, oh wait, we literally do that. We live that. Fuck. That's what you mean. So what's up? Like, we have that currently. It's no different in essence to what Donald Trump does, or Donald Trump very famously unsuccessfully tried to do when he claimed that, this is Joe Biden's America, and he just kept pointing to his America, that where he was the president. In an effort to get reelected, he was like, look, Joe Biden's America, folks. Like, you got to vote for me. And it's like, that's what they're doing right now. When you're pointing to things that are happening under capitalism right now that have been normalized and saying this is what's going to happen under socialism. Okay, thanks.
They'll be fine. But what you are noticing now is you're seeing normal Democrats kind of aligning with Republicans against the socialists, and that is what I call unity.
Also, I just watched a video of Bernie, and he doesn't want to.
Yeah, he's right. This should terrify you. This is, by the way, this is right. Jesse Waters is right. Republicans are brutally honest. They can be brutally honest on their shows when they're talking about establishment Democrats like this. That's unity. We're all getting together to fucking shit on socialists and the progressive left. He's right. It should worry you that we've watched a 5-minute video on the 5, and every single thing that they've said thus far sounds exactly like establishment Democrats.
So you made a good point. Well, what if you ask about who pays and all these taxes and all that? Yeah, it shifts, but basically, when it comes to these kind of brass tack items, like the environment, people say, yes, we want to do more about climate change. When you ask about something like healthcare, people say, you know what? The healthcare system is totally out of sorts in this country. You ask about college for young people. They say these heavy debts on young people, they're unfair. That goes across political lines.
Greg.
You know what a social
No answer. They literally just move past that. There's no way. You can't answer that.
A socialist is someone who can't achieve in a competitive world. So they want to make everybody match their own failures. If they can't do it.
If that was the case, then why the fuck do so many Republicans get butthurt when they see my fucking subscription number or when they see my position at Twitch and constantly fucking cry to the refs? I'm always confused by that take where it's like they get mad at you and they say you're jealous when you're poor. They get mad at you and they say you're a hypocrite when you are successful.